What's up, y'all? G from G Blades. We're in a shop and we're going to do a little 3D engraving on knife. You kind of see we got a stencil on there, so it's all good. And there we go. We're going to get right into it. Alright, most of it's in there. So I'm using a carbide burr and it's super duper undercut. I think it's like 30-degree undercut, something like that. It's working out really well so far. So I got the bulk of the 3D carving in. So now I got to go back in from a different angle and kind of blend some stuff together. Turn my reference Pahoto over here and then get right back into it. Okay, so most of it's done, but had a couple little slip-ups with the rotary bit. No big deal. There's ways to fix this. This is a preliminary etch, so it is not a final hand sand etch, which is nice. So I should be able to run it on the belt grinder on 2x72 with some Tri-Zac finishing belts, and I'm gonna have to blend all those out. So any little kind of mishaps, which kind of bites, but it is what it is. So now I'm going to be going back through there with a pointed burr to blend everything out, and then we'll be on to some rubberized abrasives to really smooth it out and get that 3D carving all sexy. Stay tuned. And we are getting into part 2 of our Harley Davidson themed knife. So we got a eagle engraved on the side. Getting there. The base engraving is in. We got some Baker Forge and Tool, copper, nickel, brass, makume. That's already on there for the handguard and for like the beak section. This is gonna be cool. So this is also gonna be obviously like a bird shaped head. So we gotta finish shaping all that and fine tune all that fun stuff. But right now at the moment we are finishing the carbide engraving. So we're gonna do a few different carbide bits, and then we're going to be going into our diamond rotary bits to kind of smooth out the carbide cuts. And then we're gonna get right into our rubberized abrasives, kind of smooth everything out, get it all nice and smooth and happy about it. That way, you know, you get a nice clean etch on there. So that'll be a second etch as well after some hand sanding. So we're gonna get right into our engraving. Here we go. Okay, so we are getting there. We got a lot more of it kind of smoothed out and blended in. She's looking pretty good. We got a little bit more to do here. I think we need to exaggerate the kind of brow feathers up there a little bit more, and maybe squeeze a little bit more definition out of the tongue. But she's getting there. It's still going to get a second etch, so it's still going to be darker, and I can still see my little tiny mistake. I don't like it, but we're gonna fix that. So we gotta blend it all in a little bit more, and then we're gonna kind of smooth this all over. Stay tuned. Going in for a little bit more specific depth right here, up in the eye. A bit more. So, there we go. We're gonna change bits, do it again. All right, so now we got a nice super duper fine pointed bit. So we're gonna get in there for some very fine detail. So here we go. Okay, so I think the bulk of it is in there, but to really kind of see everything that's going on, I think I'm gonna have to clean it up now. So I think we're gonna get down to probably like a 600 grit on a belt, nice soft flat platen to clean this all up, and then we'll go like 600, 1,000, 2,000, and then we'll see how she looks from there, and then probably finish up the engraving. Stay tuned, y'all. All right, so I am digging it. After 1,000 grit on the belt, man, that looks awesome. It looks like a freaking screaming eagle. That was a screaming eagle at Boy Scouts. That's weird. That's cool. I really dig it. So it's at 1,000 grit, and then I just hit it with some WD-40 because I got to cool it off with some water. So it just kind of cleans it all up, and I really dig it. It's come along really nice. So that's only a carbide bit. Couple different carbide bits, but you gotta smooth it out because right now it's got a lot of really like aggressive tool marks in it. So we're gonna clean all those up with some diamond burrs. So they're much smoother, and that'll really kind of blend everything together. And then we're gonna go from there into some rubberized abrasives. So get right into it. So we have our basic finished product. This is finished at 2,000 grit all the way around, and our 3D screaming eagle on the blade, pretty dope. Not perfect, maybe on purpose. Got a eagle shape pommel. I love this thing. It's a little big for me, which is good because the client that ordered this has bigger hands than I do, so it should fit him perfectly. There's no edge on it. I don't put an edge on any of my knives until I have a sheath, because sometimes forming the sheath to the blade, if it's already sharp, it can cut into the leather as I'm making it. So I don't want to do that, and it's just safer until I have a sheath. So it's much safer. This client is right-handed. We're going to be making a black leather sheath for this knife. It's going to be pretty cool. So we'll set that knife off to the side. I've already cut the leather, rough cut the leather pieces. So we have a few pieces for it. Almost missed one. So there is the back. Excuse me. There's the back of the leather sheath. So it'll be like the part that the knife will sit up against, like this. And then we have the front of the sheath, which will be like this. And then we have the welt. So this will space the two main pieces of the leather apart enough that it will prevent the blade from damaging the inside of the sheath. And then we also have a strap that will feed through the back of the sheath after it's all dyed. Right? And then we'll be able to snap it together for extra retention. The plan is for this gentleman to be able to carry this knife and sheath on his motorcycle. So that's the plan. So I want to make him very comfortable with being able to do that. So there's a plan with this sheath. So now we are going to wet the leather, and then we're going to dye it with some leather dye. The tools that I use to kind of get to where I got to already with the leather is just a leather hole punch, some leather shears. A lot of people will use there's a leather, it's kind of like a pizza cutter, but it's a leather knife. Looks like this. They also work really well. And very right-hand dominant. So the scissors work a lot better for me. So now I can get a nice smooth line. And then a couple other tools that we use, just a rough file to smooth out the edges, and awl to pop some little points in there so I know where I'm gonna cut and where I'm gonna punch holes. And then this tool, which is a beveling tool, and it rounds the edges of all the leather. So after that got all squared away, now we are going to wet the leather, dye the leather, and then once it's dyed, then we're gonna be able to assemble it, and then we're gonna start, we're gonna glue it, and then we're gonna stitch it. So here we go. Okay, so we're over at different bench. I got the area prepared to be able to dye the leather so that I can also do that without messing up any of the table. And we have a spray ball of water, which we're going to use now. So we spray the water on the leather just enough to get it nice and wet and let it start soaking in. So this will allow the water to soak into the leather, and this prevents as much leather dye from absorbing deeper into the leather, keeps the leather at the surface, and reduces the volume of leather dye required. So I use fairly thin leather depending on the build. Some of them have required much thicker leather, but in this case, this is like 6-ounce leather, so it's not super thick. But with the treatment that we're going to do for the entire process, it's going to keep the leather nice and strong, and it'll keep its shape, and it will fit nice and tight, and it will be waterproof, and it's going to be awesome. So first, we got to get it dyed, and then we're going to let it cure for a little while, and then we'll dry it. And then once it's all dried and cured, we'll be able to start assembling the sheath. We're going to use Tanner's Bond leather glue to be able to assemble it first, and then we'll kind of finish the shaping, punch some stitch holes in it. We're going to hand stitch it, and should come out pretty nice. Stay tuned. Here we go. Okay, so now that we got everything dyed, everything's got to cure for a little while. We have to let the leather dye absorb into the leather before we're going to fast cure it, and this will kind of speed up the process. Right now there's still a little bit of water, obviously we sprayed it on there. We've got to be able to get it out of there. A lot of guys and a lot of times, ideally you want to let it come out of there as slow as possible and let it kind of prevent the leather from cracking or drying too fast or anything like that. I am going to speed the process up a little bit. I'm going to use a food dehydrator. So if you don't know, food dehydrators have a jerky setting, and I've been using one of those for a long time because I love making jerky. So I started using an extra dehydrator that I have laying around as a way to fast cure leather, and that lets me kind of move the process along a little bit faster. So nice low temperature. I actually cure it at the same temperature that I do, like the machine is designed, I think, to cure like fruit. And I check it like every 15-20 minutes. And in a lot of cases, I can dry the leather within a few hours, depending on how thick the leather itself is, and that'll let me move along the process a little bit faster. So we're gonna let this cure. When we come back, we're gonna have an opportunity to be able to put all the leather together. I am gonna show you real quickly how we are gonna use the food dehydrator, so check that out. All right, here we are over at the dehydrator, and it's about 135 degrees. Is what the setting is on. And we have all of our leather. And they are curing. They got stamped, ready to rock and roll. So when we come back, we'll be able to start our assembly of our leather sheath for our Harley-Davidson themed custom knife. Stay tuned.